have to thank you. I mean, you have been the most important pillar as part of this journey. And I do remember that, when I got my green card, and I was telling some colleagues and some relatives, and they were like, that's not possible. I mean, you would have been, working on this for several years. I mean, we haven't seen this happen.
You have Patrick Findaro here, founding partner at Visa Franchise. Excited to have on one of our former clients, Owais Khalid, where it's a pretty unique story where I think it might be the record time from going to a non-immigrant visa, the E-2 investor visa, to securing a green card all within less than 12 months. So we'll get into the story about the green card and the full process. So stay tuned. But I want to start with Owais. Tell me a little bit about your background, because you grew up in Pakistan, had a really good career in the golf. Qatar, you were there during the FIFA World Cup. So Owais, maybe tell me a little bit about your background and why you decided to keep going west to the US and grow you and your wife, both of your careers in the States, and raise your family here.
Thank you, Patrick, for having me here. Obviously, it has been an incredible journey, achieving a green card within a span of less than 12 months. And I have to thank you. I mean, you have been the most important pillar as part of this journey. And I do remember that, when I got my green card, and I was telling some colleagues and some relatives, and they were like, that's not possible. I mean, you would have been, working on this for several years. I mean, we haven't seen this happen. So I grew up in Pakistan. Professionally, I am a chartered accountant, which is a British version of CPA, and a certified internal auditor, and holding an MBA degree with over 14 years of experience. I started my career with PwC in Pakistan, where I worked almost like 4.5 years in assurance and business risk advisory services, where mostly like external audits, like financial statement audits. And after spending like 4.5 years, then I was like, I have to move to an emerging economy. So I moved to Dubai, where I was working with Deloitte for almost 4 years in the risk advisory department. Throughout my career with Big Four, I have been helping, several clients, Fortune 500 clients, some multinational, some high profile clients, as part of my journey. And then I came across an opportunity in Qatar with the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, which is a local organizing committee for FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. I couldn't say no. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity that, you work for world's largest sporting event. So I jumped on it, and that was, the most incredible piece of work that I've done. Some of the achievements were like unprecedented. I worked there as a senior manager, compliance and audit, and we have had, many firsts that we have seen in Qatar, and some of the achievements were covered in media significantly, and these have now been adopted for the World Cup here in the United States for 2026, and for the one which is happening in Saudi Arabia in 2024 also. So a lot of the lessons learned have been, adopted there. So it's been very satisfying journey.
You might go back to the game.
Maybe, but after spending those 4 years, those were like the crazy work that I have done, crazy number of hours that I've worked. I'm not sure if I want to go in that sphere again. Maybe in an advisory capacity, maybe
Yeah,
yes.
as an
But
advisor.
like after 14 years, then I was pretty inquisitive, about having a home where basically you can stay forever. I mean, obviously, Middle East, you are bound by your employment residency, so it's time bound visa.
And you
So
can't really get a citizenship, right? It's
you
extremely
cannot get a
rare.
yeah, you cannot get a citizenship. For example, if you get fired, you have to leave the country. There's no other option. So that was one of the factor in my mind, and I wanted to move towards the west. I tried Canada a lot. I spent a lot of money for Canada, to be honest. It didn't work out, and I do have a strong belief in faith. I do believe things happen for a reason. And I remember speaking with you, and you were saying that why don't you try like United States. I was like, I never thought it's like it's something which is possible. But then I was like, okay, fine, let's go and let's try it.
But
So
Waze, I don't know if you know, our biggest market is Canadians. So you're not missing much. No, I'm just joking, but there's a lot of Canadians moving to Texas where you are, Florida, Arizona. I think the market's just tough there. They let in a lot of high skilled
yeah,
professionals, and there's just not as many jobs and business opportunities in Canada as there are, in the States.
True, true, true. And I came across this through one of the articles that you guys published, that Canadians are a significant number of people are opting for E2 in the United States. And obviously one of my friends actually did go to Canada, and I heard stories that things are not as good economically, and even like in terms of the salary scale, like in the United States, is significantly more even as compared to the Middle East, let alone Canada. So that was the right opportunity, to move to the United States. So the idea was to work in a much more developed economy, in an economy where you can fulfill your dream, an American dream, which motivated me to pursue like E2 in United States.
And why not Pakistan? Because like you probably could have got a job as a CFO or just under CFO and be on that track. And I hear people live pretty well in Pakistan in terms of all the comforts and
Yeah, I mean, there are pros and cons, honestly. I mean, your life is a bit more luxurious. You can
yeah.
afford, yeah, for example, maids, nannies very easily. It's affordable from that aspect. But then you need to see that you are in an economy which is not growing as much. I mean, obviously the situation, I hope actually it improves for Pakistan, but it's not. I mean, you cannot compare, like United States with Pakistan. It's like apples and oranges. So there's no comparison as such. And plus, I mean, I do see that you get to work with the best of the best here. I mean, you have everything
18.
here. I mean, so imagine, yeah, like working for Samsung of the world, or oil and gas like organizations. Like there are several of them actually in Houston, like Aramco, for example, the biggest organization in the world for oil and gas. It's actually based in Houston also, so they have an office here. So you don't get that kind of work environment like in Pakistan. With all due respect, and I'm not saying that the working environment there is not good. It's good, and I hope it gets better. The
Yeah.
economy improves, but still, I mean, it's not comparable. So I always saw that the future actually is in the West. So that was always the right way. I transitioned it as throughout my process. Like I moved to the Middle East, where I spent almost like 9 years there. So that was part of the journey. You learn from it. You work there with with one of the big four firms, and I helped a lot of the businesses, and as part as since they were my clients, and working with world's largest sporting event, it actually helped me to maneuver my move to the United States.
I'm curious to see like the stats on like wealthy Pakistanis or like people of Pakistani origin. Cause like I've come across some really successful entrepreneurs and there's thousands of doctors that are high earners of Pakistani origin. And then the richest Pakistani lives in the US. He's in the automotive space. So it's like, and then you have the Mercury co-founder, or I think founder, who moved from the UK. I think he originally was born in Pakistan and moved to the UK, but it kind of a small market, and moved to the Bay Area to for further grow Mercury. So you have quite a few compatriots that have done here and kind of paved the way
I mean, they
in the
have done
States.
tremendously well. I mean, there are several organizations, community organizations that they have, formed, which actually help different Pakistanis, and they have. I mean, wealth-wise, I think probably they have combined more probably wealth than anyone could expect actually in Pakistan. So I mean, there is no end. I mean, I have been meeting people like here in Houston, and to be honest, I'm I'm pleasantly surprised with the way they are doing. I mean, I cannot expect that to happen in Pakistan or even in the Middle East even.
And how have you found Houston? Do you like it? How it's been what about 13 months? You've been on the ground in Houston. How have you found the? How's it been adapting for you and your wife there?
So Houston has been, much like home away from home. It's a place where
That's
you
good.
can call home. It's so I mean, culturally, it's much more look-alike as Pakistan. There's a very strong community here, and there are a lot of halal options, so you don't have to worry
Nice.
about that. So that makes it a bit more convenient. Plus, a bit, I mean, if you compare it with other states, like I've been to New York, I've been to Florida, and so it's a bit more conservative. So, like family bringing upbringing wise, I mean, it makes much more better option to basically stay in
Yes.
Houston. I mean, rather than going to California. Like I have a lot of friends who moved from California to Houston, and like quite a few
I
of them.
think the big thing too in Texas is like, the family has a decision how they want to raise their family, and it's your choice, and
Yeah,
it's not you're not expected to adapt to everyone else, and but the
exactly.
family has a lot of rights on how they want to raise their kids and everything.
Exactly. Plus, not to mention like cost of living. Like it's
Oh yeah.
easier to afford a house actually here in Houston, or rather,
Oh
taxes. I
yeah. I
wouldn't
mean,
say roll out.
people live there well there. I remember I was like 24 visiting a friend who bought a townhouse in Houston. I was visiting from Miami, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like a 3 or 4 bedroom townhouse. He's only a 24-year old in a nice neighborhood. I'm like,
Yeah.
I could never afford this in Miami.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's true. There's no state tax. That's another benefit. Like you save there also. Cost of living is comparatively lower. I mean, for example, gas even like compare it with New York. I mean, it's significantly cheaper, and affording a house is a bit more in reach as compared to other states. Like some of my friends who moved from California to Houston, the primary reason was that they're not able to afford a home there. So I mean, so they are looking towards the future. They have their kids, and they want a bit more conservative culture for their kids. So they don't want that kind of exposure. So they actually moved here. I mean, I think it's a very nice place. So I have a lot of friends here. So ideally, make it was an ideal location for me to actually move.
In a ways, you and your wife had a lot of different options in terms of, businesses, buying a business, starting your own business, going the franchise path. Why did you ultimately decide to go with franchising?
So honestly, I mean, I never thought about going with a franchise initially. So we were looking at traditional businesses, something which you can either acquire an existing business, or you can basically set up on your own. Uh, but after researching a lot in the market, I realized that I mean the existing businesses, there were some issues. The people were not upfront about it. There were some hidden concerns which you might even not know when you're buying a
And you're like
business.
an auditor. It's like, dude, you said you made 80,000, but there's a tax return says
Yeah,
there's a loss of 50,000. Like, and you have the side company
yeah. I mean, it doesn't make
fueling
any sense.
revenue through.
So it doesn't make any sense. So I was going through all this process, and I met several business owners. Uh, Honestly speaking, I felt like I was not reaching anywhere. And then across, Chat GPT was relatively new, and I was exploring Chat GPT, and I was like, asking Chat GPT, who can help. So I came across Visa franchise through Chat GPT. To be very
That's so
honest.
funny because like we probably have like 9 or 10 clients that found us through Chat GPT, and it's not something that we've optimized for. We probably should, where clients are saying, "Oh yeah, I found you on Chat GPT," but it is kind of a nice validation, and obviously there's a lot of data that they're compiling. How long did you look at like existing businesses to buy or weighing it, starting your own? Was that like a year thing or a few months?
No, few months. It was like a couple of months. I looked into the businesses, but after meeting, like after looking at probably 15, 20 businesses, I made up my mind that this is not gonna work. I mean, existing businesses won't work for me, and I thought I'm not reaching out anywhere. I was kind of stuck in the process. That's
That's a
where
long
I
time. I mean,
yeah
we usually see it's like 12 plus months. And, that's time you could be building your own business instead of like spending time, energy, and money on, the due diligences, reviewing, potential businesses for
yeah.
purchase that you might never move forward with.
Yeah, true, true, absolutely true. And then I came across you, and I had a call with you, and you basically introduced an idea of franchise, and then I studied further on it. I researched a lot on it, and I have an analogy actually. So franchise is more of like you get a recipe book on your hand. You
I
have to
like
just cook, serve, and wash the dishes. So you don't have to figure out the recipe from the start. So
this.
it kind of saves you that level of effort. You have a proven model. You have there is transparency there because franchises are required to publish the franchise disclosure document (FDD). So you get to get those insights. I mean, very easily. So there is nothing which kind of hinders your process in terms of unknown facts. You can engage with the franchise. They're much more professional as compared to buying an existing business who might be a random guy off the street. So that kind of professionalism attracted me towards a franchise, and especially when you have a proven model actually there. So we decided that this is the best way forward. I mean, you have a proven model, you take it up. Probably it may cost you a little bit more, but then you're paying premium for a proven model, something which that will work out, which franchise is actually holding your hand as part of the journey, trying to make you successful. So I think that's the best way forward. I mean, if you're looking to move to the United States, I mean, franchise is the best way forward.
Yeah, I think it's a great initial step, and it gives our clients, 2, 3 years to figure out if that's something that they're going to continue growing with, or maybe they put a manager in place and diversify their business activities. Owais, remind me, what industries did you look at, and why did you end up going with the accounting and tax and bookkeeping space?
So we looked at very diverse set of industries, starting from an automobile shop to um, vape shop, or then you have like several retail outlets. So we were looking much more on the retail side.
I think I remember this now. I was like, man, you do professional services. Like, there are Pakistanis that are doing really well with retail, but like a lot of them didn't have the same opportunities as you. Like, they didn't dominate the language, they didn't have like the great MBA, CPA, the pedigree, and they did well with what they had, whether it was gas stations, convenience stores. But what we're seeing, especially the next generation, like they can do a lot. They can do much bigger things, and retail stores are tough. It's hard to get out of. I don't know if you talk to actual owners or people that were running them, but
I mean, I
it's a
did.
tough thing to scale up.
Yeah, I did speak to a lot of them actually. But one thing I realized, I mean, after speaking to you and looking at the franchises, that uh, I have very minimal involvement or say in terms of how the retail would be functioning, because that's not my forte. So I am practically relying on another person, saying that, okay, like let's say a gas station, you would be hiring a person who would stay in that shop. I mean, you cannot. I mean, how long you can actually supervise him? So I'm not that kind of a person who has that kind of patience to go in and supervise that person, like day in day out. So that's not me. And so when I came across like a consulting sphere where you have tax, bookkeeping, and on some of the advisory aspects also. So that's like more of what I know. This is what I've been doing like for over 14 years. So this is where I can contribute from my own also. So if I mean, I can execute on my own if I have to. So I don't have to solely rely on another person. Like let's just give an example. Like there are a lot of salons actually. People said, okay, buy a salon, nail spa, something like that. I mean, I cannot do it. I mean, I have to hire people who may be good or may not be good enough. And I have fixed costs which are extremely high, and I have no control of whatsoever. So from that aspect, it made more sense to basically, go deep dive into something which you have already done in the past, or you have experience with.
I like that because, thinking out loud, I mean, you go in a new market, you're trying to sell a new product or service, that's tough. But if you're going in a new market and you already know that product or service, that's going to make the adjustment a lot easier. Remind me the timeline. It was like what, September, October, or no? When did you reached out to us? Was it was like January 2024? Did you?
Yeah, I think I reached out to you guys in February 2024 when
Okay.
I had a call with you. After, I mean, I was very satisfied with the call, and I immediately signed up, and we got the access to Vetted Biz, which I believe is the best platform that anyone can get. It basically gives you the filters that you want. You can search for different franchises and compare it. There are all the details available. I mean, I think that was the best available tool I could actually get at that point of time. So I think we had a call in February 2024, and we signed up in the same month.
And you
We
move fast. So I've had some fast E2 visa cases, but you signed up. We did this study. You complemented your research, talked to franchisees, franchisors, of course, and then you had your visa status approved. When was it?
so my
April?
Yeah, it was on April 13th, on my
Okay,
birthday actually. It
that's
was approved
awesome.
on my birthday, yeah. So
So
April
like
13th,
2 month process essentially.
yeah, yeah, 2 month process.
Which had helped though. You were already you didn't come to us without like a knowledge of the US business environment. You already looked at small businesses, which I like because it's helped you come in, better educated and you know what's out there.
Yeah.
You're not constantly thinking, oh, but maybe I don't do this franchise. Maybe I do a retail business. You kind of check that off your list and you could focus, properly on franchises.
I was very clear, like, I mean, so I so I have had that experience, trying to help businesses, improve their processes. So when I actually, so I have that eye of looking as an auditor. So when I went to, different businesses, so and I found several issues which people were not even disclosing. So I was like, very clear that I cannot go with the existing business. So what I need to do is like I need to go with a new business and possibly a franchise, which we actually, will help me. Clearing up your mind is, very, very important at that stage. So if you are clear in terms of what you need, it makes the process easier, more convenient, and a bit quicker.
Yeah, I love that. So I mean, you were very focused. I remember all our conversations. Obviously, we had pleasantries, but it was you knew what you wanted, and you knew what you wanted from us, which was good.
Yeah.
Hey, we I want this from you, Patrick, and your team, etc. Which we appreciate that direct communication. How has it been, in terms of the transfer of you and your wife's professional backgrounds to being employees in overseas and now having a business, a family business? How's that transition been?
I think the transition was relatively easier because we decided to actually choose a venture which is actually something which where we have experience in. So like you talk about tax, bookkeeping, advisory, that's something I've been doing for over 14 years. So technical aspect wise, there was no issues as such in terms to transition. But having said that, I mean, helping a business, from a third party perspective, when you're advising people, what to do in terms of your business, is whole lot different than when you start your own business. There are times when you feel down and out. I mean, you have to do certain things which you're not supposed to or meant to do, or something which probably you feel like, okay, after 15 years I might be like, okay, do I actually need to go ahead and do this kind of task? But if it's your thing, you have to do it. I mean, you have to do it. So that's where I think I had some challenges in terms of transitioning. Like, I mean, like
Really
for
rolling
example,
up your sleeves. It's like going back to when you were like 18 years old.
yeah,
The
yeah,
type
true.
the
I
type of
mean,
tasks that you're doing
yeah,
compared to like
probably the
you
first
being
job
a
I
top
had
professional in Qatar and UAE.
Probably the first job I had, I remembered it, because you are like very, very admin task that you are actually, supposed to do. So those are some things, which, but again, it's a part of a journey. It's
Yes.
you're building something. It's for your future. So no complaints. But I mean, I do feel, in terms of transitioning from that aspect, like considering the marketing, and reaching out into a new market where you never had an exposure, you never had any base that ever existed. So that was a bit challenging, but I think with a proper strategy and a plan, you can still overcome it.
Has it been helpful leaning on like your fellow franchisees or the franchisor? Have they been supportive? Like when you hit
Yeah,
like blockers and
the
stumbling blocks?
franchises have been extremely supportive. I mean, they you can schedule a call with them, for any particular issue that you may come across. So they have been extremely helpful. Franchisees also, but you need to understand with the franchisees, because everyone would not be operating at your level. So there is an element, you have to be a bit cautious. So not everyone would have similar circumstances. Plus there are people who might be operating in a completely different stage, so they are bound by different challenges, different circumstances. Largely, I would say, I mean, both franchisor and franchisees, they have been pretty supportive. You can schedule a call with them, write down them an email that, okay, this is what I'm actually looking for, and they're pretty eager to support.
And Owais, remind me, how much money did you invest? Did your family invest before applying for the E2 investor visa? and
So
doing a change of status.
we invested around approximately like $80,000, which included, the franchise fee plus the initial setup charges that the franchise actually, took under as part of the agreement, and then there were some costs related to the legal fees, legal and professional charges, rental of the office space, and the initial setup. But then, I mean, that's like, like 80,000, which was actually spent. But on top of that, we had approximately 30,000 as a working capital to basically
Great.
fund for the first year of operations.
Okay. And then walk me through the process. So you and your wife came on, I assume, entered in on a B1 or B2, tourist business visa. That allows you to spend time in the US, whether it's vacation or actually looking at business opportunities. Later on, you decided, yeah, we want to stay and adjust status. Was that a pretty smooth process? I remember you got it from the time you applied. You secured very fast. I think it was just a few days, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we arrived here on B2 visa, and after some time, we realized that, okay, yeah, this is the place where we want to
Yes.
be. Uh, because initially, you don't even know. Okay, I mean, you have to figure out whether, okay, is this a place where I can call this my home? So that was a phase which initially we figured it out very quickly, and then, I mean, there's a period of 90 days which you have to actually, spend before you can
Sure.
apply for a change of status. So we were pretty, I mean, clear in terms of, what we have to do. So uh, as I mentioned, that we signed up with you in February 2024, and I think the company was incorporated in March 2024, and we worked with an attorney. I like to mention his name, Michael Dye, very
Good one.
supportive,
Yeah, great guy.
amazing guy. I mean, very professional, and he helped us as part of the journey. So he submitted our petition around end of March 2024. So we did a premium processing. So within premium processing, you get the decision within like 15 working days. So from that time, I mean, I think we got our approval on April 13th, if I'm not mistaken. So it was pretty quick, but it was effective from end of June, because since we were on B2 visa, so our I-94 was valid up until the end of June. So our E-2 status would only be effective, like, after that.
That's right. I remember that.
So
So you're kind of in a limbo where you couldn't
yeah,
already,
you couldn't
because
work.
you have work authorization, you couldn't already start working, and you kind of have to hold tight until you
Yes.
have
So
that
so that
status.
was a bit more like additional 3 months of transitionary period where you cannot practically do anything. You have to
Yeah.
wait until your work authorization gets kicked in. But when it was, I mean, so then you're free to actually choose. But just from a business perspective, also, it gave us, some time to build up. Get ready for the first tax season. So that was a slow period. That wasn't a busy season for the business. So you had, time to set up the other things. So from July onwards, when we got our work authorization, so we actually worked on the other aspects of the business. Like how do we have to actually market it? Obtaining insurance, relevant insurances, in terms of, how the process will actually move forward. The templates, like how to intake the clients, what our process would be, the systems that we need to actually, set up. So those were actually, done from July onwards.
And then, I mean, you moved pretty fast. I mean, you decided that you like the US and you want to spend some time here to, after a few months, hey, I want to stay here. I want to stay here, indefinitely, and I want to start the green card process.
Yeah.
Could you walk me through that? I know we were talking. It was in the summer, I think, about hey, Patrick. Now I want to stay. I want to let's figure this out.
I mean, by May 2024, I think after spending like, 5 months or so, and I have to compliment, the overall lifestyle in the United States. I felt, it suited a lot. There are many positives that I saw over a period of time, especially, in terms of I mean, like, be it healthcare. The healthcare is, it's amazing. Education is actually free for your children,
Yeah,
and work wise, it's, you get that kind of by you meet a lot of people during the time when we are here. So you see their journey, and it kind of, excites you and gives you validation that you are in the right place. So during those 3 months where I couldn't actually work, I was meeting a lot of people,
That's
and I
good.
was exploring the United States. So my sister is also here, so I saw them also here. I mean, so th- that process actually gave me validation. Yeah, oh, this is the place I want to be. So what are the next steps I can actually go ahead and I mean, what's the process way forward? Then I reached out to you, and we discussed about EB2 and IW. Maybe that's probably the best way forward, where you can self petition your case. You don't need an employer. It basically saves you from the perm process, like the labor
Yes.
certification, so you don't have to go through that process. So it saves time there, and that's where the conversation started. I mean, and that's how basically I signed up again with you. I mean, I'm like, I trust you, I trusted you, and you were more of a friend rather than, I would say, as a business or service provider.
No,
So
thanks for that. It
that's how the
was
journey actually started.
Yeah, no, I remember we brought in our in-house attorney. Then we had you talk to a couple filing attorneys, strategy attorneys to kind of come up with the strategy on how we would present your case and apply. But EB2 and AW, you were at that cusp where it wasn't really moving much. And I think when we spoke, it was like, hey, this is going to take 3 years to get because
Yeah.
there's a big backlog. And I had another client that did E2, EB2 and AW just waiting. And then he got the EB1A. I was like, well, let's explore this option. This could be a good fit. And you got it. And tell me about the EB1A, like, because that's people think in their head, this is an Einstein visa. And I think there's like an imposter syndrome where there's a lot of top
Yeah.
skilled professionals like yourselves, entrepreneurs that did had an amazing career outside the US and kind of getting their foot set in the US, whether it's on an E2 visa or an O1 non-immigrant talent visa. Walk me through that, like how you went about it, and what you focused on, and why the US essentially gave you a green card, because you have to sell yourself.
So before I actually deep dive into that, I want to actually thank you again. You were the most important person, or rather, I would say you were the validation which I needed to basically proceed with EB1A. Now, when I started the DB2 NIW with you, and it wasn't moving as fast, and you mentioned right that there's a backlog, so it takes like 2.5 to 3 years for you to actually get the green card. And I remember, I had a call with you, and I was like, my case isn't moving forward as I want it to be, and you were like, why don't we explore EB1A? And my initial response was that, I mean, embarking on the green card journey, I reached out to several of the lawyers, I mean, attorneys, as part of that. I mean, some were introduced by you, and some I basically reached out randomly, searching them.
Sure.
And uh, a lot of them rejected me for, they're saying that, we cannot take your case because we don't think you are a good case for EB2 and IW, let alone EB1A. I mean, there were several attorneys who were saying that, okay, you're talking about EB1A, but we think you might not be a good case for EB2 and IW also. So, which kind of demotivated me. But as I said, you
Yeah,
were
it sounds bad, but I think they're. I mean, I see these EB1A cases, that our team's working on. They're tough. Where EB2 and AW, I think the adjudicating, it's a little more up to the adjudicator. Where EB1A, like, you're hitting, the 4, 5, 6 criteria. Everything's really well documented. There's a lot of work for you. I think there's a lot more work for everyone involved for the EB1A, and it probably, I think, I know it's not as profitable as EB2 and AW, but it makes a lot more sense for many immigrants. So
Yeah, true, true. And the thing is that it was, I felt during the process that the way you looked at my profile, my achievements, probably others were not looking in the same way. Which, and I do feel that there are a lot of people who may have that kind of expertise and achievement, which may qualify for EB1A, but they kind of get demotivated because a random attorney, rejects them. So which doesn't make any sense, because they ask you to submit your CV. Your CV, your resume does not tell everything about you. I'll be very honest. So once I had the validation from you, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm moving forward with it. I mean, let's take a chance on it. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, I mean, what's there to lose? So there was nothing for me to lose actually there, and I had a pretty strong track record, like in terms of um, I was awarded a certificate of appreciation from the head of the state of Qatar for my impactful role in the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022, and I played a very critical role for my organization there because we worked on several important aspects, specifically for ESG, like which is covered in the media also, like recruitment fees reimbursement. Like there was $23 million, reimbursed to around 49,000 workers in Qatar by 266 companies, and we were part of that program. So I basically, led that initiative where we were auditing the companies, making sure that they are doing the right what they have committed. So though, and it was covered by different NGOs also. This is one of the unprecedented achievement, which is recognized globally. And then I had like I applied using six criterias. You have to meet three actually out of 10 there are. So the more you can do it, I mean, the better, because you have a chance that if one doesn't work out, you have another one to back it up. So I started off with a national or international award. That was one which I included. The second one was a membership in a professional organization. So uh, I'm a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan. And Institute of Internal Auditors USA, a membership which both of these membership which is prestigious, and they are awarded to extraordinary individuals possessing their expertise in the audit field. So that kind of met the criteria there for the second one. The third, I did the critical role in a leading organization. I did coverage of my achievements in the media. That was the fourth one.
Taking a pause there for critical role in the organization. Was it? Can you show that within Deloitte, within PwC, you had a critical role, or are you going to say like I worked with this client on and I had a critical role on the client side? How did you
So,
frame that? Remind me.
so I framed it in a way that my critical role was for Supreme Committee for Qatar 20 for Delivery and Legacy, which is the local organizing committee of for FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. Now, why it was a critical role? I was working there as a senior manager compliance and audit, and as a compliance and audit, as an audit guy, so you have to deal with risk. What are the controls that are there to mitigate those risks, and to basically help organization overcome those risks and implement controls and make sure the process improve. So that was the entire role. And you would have heard a lot about like Qatar, that there were several news articles coming in and criticizing Qatar on several aspects. So which is why my role was very very critical. So in terms of ESG, so a lot of components of ESG were implemented for the first time in Qatar, not just in Qatar but the region as a whole. Like the due diligence framework that I worked on, it was implemented for the rest of the World Cups now. I
It's
mean,
huge.
so we had for the very first time, we had a monitoring system during the tournament itself. So there was an ongoing monitoring system during the time tournament was taking place, to ensure that all those aspects which were being criticized were basically looked into. And if we find any issues, we are trying to identify it, find the root cause, and implement the solutions like rectifications as soon as possible. So which is why that role became very very critical. And the acknowledgements that we received, or my work received, as a matter of fact, like by FIFA, by several media outlets, NGOs like Amnesty and HRW, and there was external monitor which basically independently audited our program, what we were doing, Impact Limited. So they basically did that, and kind of validated what the work was being done there. That's how basically I frame my arguments in terms of the critical work.
And Owais, I want to be mindful of your time. Just like I mean, quickly wrapping up. So you apply, you get accepted, and how long did it take to get your I-140, the actual petition, approved?
It took me around 10 days to get my I-140 approved. I applied through premium processing. So I submitted my case on August 1st, and I got my approval on August 10th.
And then after
So
that, you adjust status and you basically
yeah,
say, hey, I want to, instead of applying at a consulate, whether it's back in Qatar or Pakistan, I want to stay here and apply through USCIS.
yeah. I mean, I basically there's an option in when you're filing I-140, they ask you whether you'll be adjusting the status or you'll be applying a visa through consulate. Since I was in the United States, so it made more sense, to adjust the status.
Yeah.
So
Sense.
it's a bit more convenient. Plus, you avoid the long wait time, interview times at consulate. I think in some of the places it takes you like almost 6 months to a year to get an appointment.
How long did it take to be able to get work authorization? And then how long did it take to actually have like the physical green card for you and your family?
So we already had work authorization through E-2, which was effective from July. But we got our approval for I-140, which was on August 10th. We applied for our adjustment of status at the end of September, like around September 25th, and we got our interview. I mean, I won't say interview appointment. It was a biometrics appointment where they take your fingerprints and a picture, which was within a month. So that was scheduled on October 28th, and I got my EAD, like employment authorization document, on November 3rd, which was just within a few days after the biometrics appointment. And I got my green card approved on January 27th. And physically, I had my green card within the next 1 week after that. So, I mean, relatively, it
So
was.
you're proof, despite what the media says, Trump is issuing green cards to talented individuals.
I mean, it is. It is. I mean, there is. Look, I will be very honest. Like, USCIS has a policy manual.
Yes.
There are no shortcuts. You have to comply with that. If you think that your achievements merit those criterias, go ahead and apply. I mean, it's basically you have to put up your case, and there is no one better than who can put up your case than yourself. I put it in this way, like even if you work with an attorney like me, I have my field is audit and compliance, let's say, and I've worked with on World Cup, and I have there were different challenges and there were different achievements that I had. An attorney whose expertise is basically in immigration and law,
Yes.
so he would not have that kind of a background. So
There's a lot of
you,
work. That's the thing. The
yeah.
EB1A, that's compared to the E2, there's a lot more work that the client has to take on. And, you're really selling yourself and no one knows yourself as much as you. And whether it's Visa franchise or other professionals, we can help support you, but it falls on you to do most of the work and secure the
No,
approval.
but I have to say this, that when I come across a lot of people, like even my friends, so I see that they like a friend of mine relied on a consultant, just left everything on himself, and he applied for EB2 NIW and he got a RFE, and he was discussing with me, and I'm like, I mean, how can you actually do this? I mean, the way the arguments were framed, it didn't make any sense. And
Yeah.
so it's very important, like as a person, like if you need to reach out to, firstly, a trusted professional, someone like you. I believe you probably are one of the best,
Thank
if
you.
not the
Appreciate
best.
that.
So you reach out to a right person, and you have to look. This journey cannot be done alone by an attorney or by a consultant. You
No,
have to get involved as part of this journey on a day-to-day basis, because uh, you, for example, Patrick, you can only, I mean, draft a case as much information as I would give you. You would
for
not know,
sure.
like, okay,
I don't
what
know
I
much
have
about
done or
auditing. I
based on.
don't I don't know the intricacies of the FIFA operation and your job. So, whether it's me,
So,
our team, the document, processors, our internal attorney, the strategy attorney, we're here to support and we can provide guidelines, but that's for these talent visas, it really falls on you. And I think it's different than like the investor visas like E2 or EB5, where
yeah.
it's more just documenting the investment. And yeah, there's some profile on you we build into the business plan, but that's a little more straightforward. Where the talent visas, you got to really take ownership and
True,
earn
true.
earn your American dream.
Yeah, true, true. And I have, you get that kind of satisfaction, after getting the green card. And I mean, the way I see it, it's basically end of the immigration process for me, but it's a start of a deeper commitment, like to the country, to the United States, to its economy, and to the people, like in general. Like I want to help more and more people as I come across. Uh, I mean, in any way possible. I mean, whether it's through in an advisory capacity or through, like, sharing my journey, like what I have actually,
Yes.
gone through. And
Thanks so much for opening up. This has been a pretty compressed journey in terms of moving to the US and becoming a green card holder and now on the path to becoming a US citizen. So,
yeah,
Owais, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down with me and share your journey.
thank you, pleasure's mine. Thank you. It's always nice to speak to you, and anything for you.
Oh, thanks so much, Owais. Appreciate it.